Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, my groupmates and I will present our topic which is called the Highland Tower Collapse. In this presentation, we will briefly discuss on the introduction, discussion on topic, reasons of failure, recommendation for future prevention, and lastly the conclusion. Moving on to the introduction, as shown in the first slide, our topic that we chose is the collapse of the Highland Tower. It is one of the well-known disasters that has happened in Malaysia as it involves the loss of lives and millions of ringgit. Subsequently, the aftermath of the tragedy has led to an improvement of work practices, varying from law enforcement to etiquettes. In the following slides, my friends will explain on how the tragedy occurred, the parties involved, the technical failures on the engineering aspect, and the countermeasures needed to be done to prevent similar tragedies in the future.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Rahimi bin Bahari, and now I will be presenting about the discussion for the Highland Tower collapse. The first thing that I will talk is regarding the background of the tragedy itself. So the Highland Tower, which consists of 3 blocks, is located at Taman Hillview, Ulu Klang, Selangor. And on the 11th December 1993 at 1:30 p.m., the Tower Block 1 of the Highland Tower collapsed and it took the lives of 48 people. So after the tragedy, the rescue mission started immediately and it involved the Federal Preserve Unit and military personnel, including engineers from Batu Cantonment Camp and also Wardiban Camp. So on that day, 3 victims were found. However, one of them died due to internal bleeding at Hospital Kuala Lumpur. The mission lasted for 12 days, and during that timeline, there were also several rescue teams from other countries such as France, Singapore, UK, and Japan that arrived to assist on the rescue operation. So after the tragedy happened, the other 2 remaining blocks were left abandoned. There were also few plans to repair the remaining building, but after some inspection, the buildings were found out to be structurally unstable, and other than that, demolition also being suggested by the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, but always ended up delayed, and the buildings are still standing up until now.
My name is Syahiman. I will be explaining to you the reasons of failure that caused the Highland Tower tragedy, particularly the technical issues, while my friend Azmie will be explaining to you the ethical issues. There are 3 main technical issues that caused the Highland Tower tragedy. The first one is the drainage failure, the second one is the slope failure, and the third one is the foundation failure. So let's talk about the drainage failure first. Before the construction of Highland Tower, there was a channel of water that flows from the uphill of the site which locates the Bukit Antrabangsa project across the Highland Tower site. The channel was diverted into a new drainage system to make way for the construction of the 3 blocks. As I mentioned before, there was a development project going on at the uphill of the Highland Tower site. This development has actually increase the surface runoff that is not only large in quantity but also high in silt and sand content. After some time, the silt and sand accumulated in the drains, which reduced the efficiency of the drainage. It was reported that the drains were not only poorly maintained but they were also leaking into the soil. This has caused the surrounding soil to be oversaturated and eventually becomes mud. We'll continue with the slope design. It was reported that the retaining structure located at the backside of the compound was poorly designed. Not only that, after the investigation, it was found that the retaining structure was designed with a low safety factor of around 1.2. Eyewitnesses also claimed that the slope was too steep considering the height. That picture on the slide was taken a few minutes before the collapse of Tower 1, showing the failed retaining structure. Last but not least, we'll move to the foundation failure. As I mentioned before, the drainage failure caused the soil at the hill behind the Highland Tower to become oversaturated. On December 1993, the area received a heavy rainfall due to monsoon exchange period. Roughly around 40,000 cubic meters of oversaturated soil rammed into the foundation of Block 1. Upon investigation, it was found that the engineers who designed the foundation of Block 1 did not take into consideration the horizontal loading during the calculation phase. Hence, we can conclude that the foundation design was insufficient, to which has caused the tragedy of Highland Tower.
Thank you to Syahiman for presenting about the technical issues. Hi, I'm Azmie, and now I will talk about the ethical issues that caused the collapse of Highland Tower. From the court case, 10 defendants were being charged by 73 plaintiffs and 7 found guilty. The first defendant is the developer of Highland Tower. He was found guilty for not employing suitable architect, building insufficient terrace, retaining wall and drains, and diverting a stream, and failing to maintain the culverts. Second defendant was Wang Ting-san, the architect for Highland Tower. He was found guilty for not complying to draw more than 2 stories, not ensure adequate drain and retaining wall, not investigate slope and river before the design, and not fulfill requirement to obtain CF or Certificate of Fitness for Highland Towers. The third defendant was Wang Yi-King, the consultant engineer for Highland Tower. He was found negligent for not consider the slope and hill, not design and construct retaining wall, not supervise foundation construction, and implement approved drainage system, and not fulfill the requirement to obtain CF. The fourth defendant was Majlis Pembedaran Ambanjaya or MPAJ. The city's council was found guilty for not checking Highland Tower plan thoroughly, failed to ensure drainage and retaining wall design adequate, maintain and upgrade drainage and retaining wall, failed to minimize hazard of the collapse, and prevent vandalism and theft on Block 2 and 3. Fifth defendant was Arab Malaysian Finance Berhad. The financial institute was for negligence for not maintaining and upgrading drainage and retaining wall, negligence in taking measures to restore stability on Arab Malaysia after collapse, and prevent vandalism and theft on Block 2 and 3. The sixth and seventh defendant was PETRONAS Berhad and MBA Properties Berhad. Both parties was found negligence for not consider the impact on drainage requirement of Arab Malaysia land, no precaution to prevent water flow, divert water into Arab Malaysia land, block flow of stream and water course, deposited slope mount into Highland Tower site, cause erosion into Highland Tower site, and create hazard on Malaysia's land. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Asylam, and today I will present about the recommendations for the prevention of Highland Tower collapse from happening ever again. The recommendations encompasses the pre-construction, during and post-construction actions that can and must be implemented by the developers and other parties involved. During the pre-construction stage, proper designing and planning of construction must be prioritized. There should be a registration system with the municipal authorities for the developers and builders who must be qualified. This procedure will reduce the risk of unqualified contractors doing the building works. Other than that, stricter laws, acts and regulations should be imposed on every construction works. For example, all the buildings that had more than 5 stories high and were placed on the hillsides were asked to get a verification from a qualified consultant regarding the stability and the safety of the building, which is also known as Environmental Impact Assessment (EIA). Consequently, practice of safety and health programs should be encouraged during the construction phase. Hazard identification, risk assessment and risk control (HIARC) is one of the risk management in which have become fundamental in recent years. Basically, the purpose of HIARCs are as follows. First, identify all the factors that may cause harm to employees and others, the hazards. Second, consider what are the chances of the harm actually befalling to anyone in the circumstances of a particular case and the possible severity that could come from it, the risk. And third, enable employers to plan, introduce and monitor preventive measures to ensure that the risks are adequately controlled at all times. The process involving HIARC only requires steps as shown in the figure. Lastly, since the Highland Tower incident involved the failure of drainage system, hence it is wise to maintain good drainage system at all times, especially after the construction phase. Based on the United States Environmental Protection Agency (EPA), there are plenty of hydrological structures that can be introduced to control the drainage system of the project site, namely retention-detention systems, infiltration, best management practices (BMPs), and others. These structures aid in controlling the runoff volume, scouring, and downstream flooding that is being produced due to high impervious surfaces. Hence, with the practices mentioned earlier, we hope that it will greatly benefit the development of structures without incurring any form of disasters.
Finally, we have reached the conclusion for our presentation. We have reviewed the factors that have led to the occurrences of this tragedy, and also reviewed the countermeasures that needed to be done to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. It can be clearly observed from this case study that every stage in a project must be executed flawlessly by the authorities and the personnel involved, from planning, construction phases, and maintenance. They must fulfill the responsibility given to them to execute the works to ensure that the end result will be risk-free and safe to be used by the public. That is all from my group. Thank you.